Hello and welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews. Just a little introduction to let you know what this video you're about to watch is about. So, Stryper, the music, the message. It's a video involving a subscriber talking about the music and the message of Stryper over all their career. Because it's such a long video, I've divided it into 4 parts, but I urge you to watch every part. It's a great video. Watch it till the end and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews. And today I've got with me a new guest on the channel, Paul Anderson. How you doing, mate?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, good. So Paul contacted me a little while ago when I was giving a shout out for people to come on the channel, and he said basically he'd do anything Stryper to start with. So basically I've done a lot. People who watch the channel will know I've done a lot of Stryper stuff. So I've nearly sort of not run out of ideas of it, but I've done all the reactions to the new album, done some reviews. I've pretty much maxed out with Stryper at the moment, but Paul had a great idea for a program to do with me, and I've taken him up on it, and we're calling it Stryper, the music, the message. And what we're going to talk about is something I thought was really interesting that Paul came up with, and we're going to talk about the two different sides, if you like, to why we're into Stryper. And obviously I'm an atheist, as everyone knows who watches the channel, and Paul is a devout Christian. So there, as well as the music, Paul obviously sees the message that Stryper are giving, probably more than I do. So we're going to talk about a few of the songs that Paul's chosen, and we're going to talk about the message and the music. So I thought it'd be a great thing to do. So Paul, thanks for coming on, and what a great idea, mate.
Oh, thanks, man. I've been wanting to come on. I've just absolutely loved your videos, man. I started, the very first one I saw was your F-bomb laden blood from above reaction. I was like, Michael Sweet had posted that on the channel and said, mind the language, folks, but this guy gets it. And man, I was hooked from the first time I listened to that. I was like, holy crap, this guy absolutely gets it. So
Thanks,
you're obviously a great fan, as am I. It's all, I guess, start with, I'll just tell everyone a little bit about myself.
Yeah, definitely, mate. You go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself, and obviously how you got into the band, because I think it'll probably be a bit more interesting than the way I did. But you tell us a bit about yourself and your history with Stryper, mate.
Yeah, I grew up in a Christian home. I'm from Canada, so across the pond from you, as they say.
Oh yeah.
But part of the Commonwealth. We still use the Queen still signs off on everything we do, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, no, I grew up in a Christian home, and Pentecostal, so very evangelical. Used to say, I went to church twice on Sunday and then on Tuesday as well. Tuesday was family night, and morning service on Sunday, and evening service on Sunday. Oh, and let's not forget Sunday school. Yeah, so it was definitely a lot of church in my growing up years, that's for sure. Yeah. And music, it was all the typical Christian old hymns and stuff. And as I got a little older and got into my teenage years, I wanted something a little bit more exciting when it came to music, but I didn't listen to any of the AC/DC or Iron Maiden, and as far as I was concerned, they were of the devil. At the time, that's what I grew up, right? And you know what? Hey, God bless my parents, and our parents all, they all, I think, have our best. They want the best for us, but they're sometimes maybe a little bit in doing so, they don't realize certain things. So anyways, somehow I did get into some of the other Christian hard rock, into like Resurrection Band and the Daniel Band and stuff like that. And then one day I was in local Christian music store.
Yeah.
And this guy comes up to the counter with the record, and it's this. I look at it and looked a little interesting cover, and had some like rockets pointed towards Earth, and I was like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's this new Christian metal band, Stryper. They're awesome." And I said, "Really?" So I called up and I talked to some friends of mine who had somehow they had heard about it and I hadn't. So anyways, like we all did back in the day, everyone had cassette decks. And so one of my buddies gave me a copy of the Yellow and Black Attack, and I took it home and I put it in my stereo, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are awesome, man. Like, I just like, holy smokes, man. I'd never, like, as I said, listened to some Christian rock, but nothing rocked as hard as Stryper did, and just fell in love with them instantly. And then it's kind of funny. So that was back in late 84, I guess it would have been. So I would have been 16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah.
Or turning 15, actually, turning 16 but later that year. And I was actually kind of planning on trying to save up some money and go to the Cornerstone Music Festival, a big, huge Christian music festival in Chicago area. Was kind of hoping to maybe go down there and stuff. And I was thinking of it, and then so 85 came, and then there was all of a sudden some friends called me up and said, "Paul, you're not gonna believe it. You're not gonna believe it. There's this new Christian music festival. It's happening right here in Kitchener. Stryper is playing." I'm like, what? I'm just like, got all freaked out. I was like, oh man, I'm going. Like, there is nothing stopping me from going to this festival, right? So, and they were playing the Friday night, and it was just a dream come true. Like,
wow,
just finally getting to see this band, and that I just grew to love so much. And I remember actually me and my friends who came with me, we were hanging around the Stryper merch booth this before the show, right? And my buddy taps me on the thing and said, "Turn around. There's Oz Fox standing right there." Came to say hi to the fans. I was like, it was just so wild. It was just what a surreal experience. And so I've been a fan since the very beginning. I've seen them live now 17 times.
Wow.
Basically have a rule: if they're within a 5-hour drive,
you go.
I'm going to see them.
Wow.
And I had plans to go see Michael Sweet's solo show. Of course, that got canceled by COVID, unfortunately. But yeah.
Great, mate. Well, mine ain't so interesting, I suppose. But I mean, sometimes when you can remember when you got an album, you can remember the time when you picked it up. I can do that with a few albums, but I was trying to think before the show of when I actually remember getting the album. And I know it was Soldiers Under Command. It was the first album I heard of Stryper. It wasn't the Yellow and Black Attack. I didn't hear that. So that was my first introduction. And it was a bit strange as a kid back in England. It's not like now. You don't even didn't know back then when a new album was coming out even. It would just be you go into the record store and be, oh, they've got a new album out. It wasn't like publicized like it is now, So even when a band got a new singer, you didn't even know, did you, sometimes, until you bought the album and they'd changed the singer and you thought, who's this? And, it was nothing like it is now. It's just, you know everything about everything now, don't you? When anything's going to happen, and it's a good thing, I suppose, But Soldiers Under Command, I can't even remember how it landed on my, in my hands, but I used to go, I know I used to get a lot of my records. There used to be a market down in Gravesend near where I lived, and they basically used to sell these not for resale records. They was obviously not meant to be sold there. They were dodgy copies or whatever. And I used to get a lot of records there. So obviously but Soldiers was 1985, wasn't it? So, so it did have I remember it had a not for resale little tag on the back. So I definitely got it from there. And that's where I used to get most of my music from. I mean, that's where I first found bands like Tesla and Queensryche, and I used to go down there and get them albums. But and then after I got Soldiers, obviously, I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. And then I never get it. The Yellow and Black Attack for me was okay, but it didn't have that impact I thought of Soldiers.
It wasn't near as polished, that's for sure.
No, it was like a band finding their way, whatever. But we'll get onto that, the actual music soon.
Yeah.
But and then obviously, To Hell with the Devil had an even bigger impact with me than Soldiers. Both of them albums together played a huge part of my life through the 80s. And well, if we go on to the, as you said, being brought up as a Christian, well, I wasn't at all. I mean, I don't think in England, especially in the 80s, I'm not sure if Christianity was like it was in America. Us in England, we think that it's a huge thing in America compared to England. A lot of people go to church, and that I didn't know. I don't think I knew one person as a kid growing up that went to church, and none of my friends, not one. But it's like you said, it's sometimes how you brought up, isn't it? I mean, I'd never, although within Stryper, I know the message is the message. I've always listened to them as, musically, but sometimes see the message as, be good to people, and they'll be good to you. I see it that way. Or even when I was a lot younger, I suppose I used to look on it as, when they used to sing, they used to have double meaning. So they could be singing to a woman, or they could be singing to God, and that's how I, saw the lyrics sometimes. So I don't know, but so that's what this show's all about. So we're going to talk about how we see these songs from each side. Mm-hmm. So, like I said before, though, you've chosen all these songs. So I said, get the list together, and I'll say whatever I think, because there's no point in me choosing all the songs again, because I thought that'd be even more interesting, because obviously you brought the list up. I said, whatever it is, it's fine. We'll talk about it, because there's not. I'm sure Stryper themselves know that they've made some songs that they're not their favourites, and it makes a change that I'm going to actually. I might say something. I might even say one negative thing about them. I don't know yet. I might. Mm-hmm. So
that's fine, and hey, there's even, as much as I love Stryper, there's songs that I could take or leave. In fact, I'll talk about it a little bit later on. But yeah, I guess what I'll do is I'll introduce each song, I guess, and I've got my notes here, so folks don't mind me dodging my eyes.
I've got notes. I've got my notes. I've got my notes as well. So.
And I will, I'll go through it, and then after I talk about the message, you can kind of just chime in about, musically, and
definitely, mate.
We'll go from there. And I think it should be a really interesting show. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to, and people like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah, definitely.
Smash that bell icon.
I think I said to you, didn't I, Paul, that there's a lot of Stryper fans. A large majority of people watch the channel are Stryper fans, because of Michael Sweet, like you said, he shared a couple of videos, done an interview with him. So there's a lot of Stryper fans on it. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So there will be a few views on this, and there'll be a few comments, and I love the comments. It's great. So, but what we might do is quite a few songs to talk about. We got, how many? 21 song.
21. How did I work that out, man? 777
on purpose. No. So
I had 24, but I pared it down a bit, and then I just looked at it's 21. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's I literally going through every album, and all the studio albums, and kind of like taking anywhere from one to a few songs from each one, and the kind of just jumped out at me from a lyrical standpoint. So
excellent. And we might, just to let the viewers know, we might break this in. We might, just to let you know, might be part 2 on this, probably, because we've got a bit to get through, but that's cool. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you want to go ahead, mate.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we'll start off with the Yellow and Black Attack. And the song I chose from this album was You Know What to Do. I think if you talk to a lot of Stryper fans, I think that's probably going to be one of their favorites on that album. It really was a good rockin' tune. I'll let you talk more about the music, but definitely my favorite track on the album. And from a message perspective, you know, Yellow and Black Attack carried a very simplistic lyrics. I mean, and I believe it's already, you know, they actually already had the album written as Rock's Regime. You know, they've talked about that numerous times. And then when they ended up rededicating their lives to Christ, they, you know, obviously couldn't just go back and redo everything over again. So they quickly changed their lyrics. You know, lyrics before were probably more of the typical sex, drugs, and rock and roll message, and changed that to Jesus message, right? So that all being said, though, you know, this song just really carries a simple message of hope. You know, it just lets people know that there is a loving creator out there who, you know, gave them a life that is, you know, it's just, it can give them a life so much more complete if they just have a little faith, right? And that song just spoke to me from the first time I heard it. It was a great track.
Cool. And well, you're right. It is one of my favorites, if not my favorite on the album. So, I mean, like I said, I wasn't into Stryper until Soldiers, but I did go back and got this album, or an EP as it was back then. It got re-released with extra tracks later on, didn't it? But I mean, the production plays a big part on this, because Stryper for me are some of the best guitaring from any band. They're so intricate on their guitar work that, you know, they're all the way through the songs. They may be like later on some, but we're going to talk about, they weren't as intricate at one stage, but especially at the beginning, they're so intricate on their guitar playing, and this definitely didn't bring out the best in that. You know, if anything, this was a sort of quite a flat production. You know, nothing really stood out in the instruments for me, but sometimes you can see the potential in this song as it is, even with that production, you know. And they did sound like a band. Some bands, you know, they bring out the debut album of all debut albums and they don't better it, do they? Some bands, they just can never get better. You know, there's some classic debuts that have come out from bands, but I'd rather have it this way. And look at what they're doing now. You know, they didn't just make one album.
Later on.
Exactly. So they did sound like a band finding their way, but there's a great guitar solo in this as well, just to mention that quickly, which I'm gonna say a lot. But what I love about Stryper, and they're still doing it now, and they did it in this song as well, as one of them's playing, then they break it up and they both come in with a little twin lead bit as the solo's going. That's quite a special thing, and not many bands do that. And I think it's great.
Very few.
Yeah, it's a great technical solo. Love it. That's all I've got to say on that one, mate. So it's a very good choice from my side as well for that one.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, next, I guess, I mean, this was the album, definitely anybody who missed Yellow and Black Attack, like yourself, Soldiers Under Command. My goodness, man. I remember getting the white vinyl. A friend of my mom was kind of like I'll get into this a little bit later, but kind of against the whole Christian rock thing and stuff. But one of her friends gave me a birthday gift, and it was Soldiers Under Command on white vinyl. And oh man, I wore that thing out. It was crazy. And so the first song I took as actually the title song. So this song, I feel it was really heavily inspired by scripture. The book of Ephesians, which is written by the Apostle Paul, chapter 6, starting at verse 10. I'm just going to dart my eyes down here to read this, but It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye all be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with prayer and supplication in spirit, watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. So basically, it's like a military call to action.
Mm.
And instead of a physical war, it's a spiritual war. And so I just loved how, this album, man, put Stryper on the map or what? And that cover.
It looked like I was going to say, it looked like a physical war on the cover.
Yeah, that cover with the band, heavily armed with machine guns,
Yeah.
that battle van, and then 10 tracks that just absolutely smoked. I mean, if you were a metal fan in 1985, there was no way that you could listen to this album and not know that Stryper was here to stay. You just couldn't. If you can honestly tell me that Stryper was not here to stay then after listening to that album, you ain't a metal fan. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Yeah.
It was so blatantly obvious that, sure, they would become even more polished through the years, but that album, and I'll let you go more, and obviously in the music side, but man, it was amazing.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, I said, this was my introduction to them, and what an opening track as well for an excellent album. I mean, and of course, the production was, even though, if you listen to it now and you listen to the production now that they've got on their albums now, obviously it's not nowhere near it, I don't think. But people do hang up on that Soldiers or the To Hell with the Devil production even now, saying it's the best production. It was good. I think it was still good for the 80s. I think the production was really good for the 80s because there was some real murky production going on back then. But this was, for its time, I thought was really good. And where the Yellow and Black Attack, the intricacy you couldn't hear in the guitars on the Soldiers Under Command on this title track, you could really hear the fiddly little bits they're doing. That I sometimes I used to listen to it when I was a kid and think, was that really a guitar? Some of the stuff in that solo, they got a guitar trick in this solo, a really high bit as well. I don't want to do it. I don't want to actually mouth it, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a bit that goes really high, and I love those little bits they put in sometimes that make you go, whoa, did you hear that? And it was just a brilliant song, heavy, so heavy, but melodic at the same time. And there wasn't many bands doing things that heavy then, that sort of sound. And of course, you got the guitar tone, didn't you? You got the tone starting to show through, what you didn't get on the album before, the Stryper guitar tone. Absolutely superb track, a perfect track to open the album with.
It was a track that you just knew you were in for a treat. And that album just really, even the ballads were great, and stuff like that. But
you're right. There, had one of my best favorite ballads. I know we're not talking about that, but one of my favorite ballads.
Oh, yeah, I didn't add it to the list here, but I mean, when the first time I actually heard it was that very first concert. Of course, at the time, Soldiers was not released yet. It was June 28th, 1985. Soldiers was released a little bit later, but they did play some songs, and one of the songs I remember them playing was "First Love." Yeah, and I just just a beautiful ballad, guitar-driven ballad.
I much prefer it
just
when they rock out a bit on a ballad. I much prefer it than their, you know, they're more cheesy ones, if
syrupy
you like.
piano ballads.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I much
I mean,
prefer the rocker
I do
one.
love, honestly, I like Together as one and stuff, but yeah, there's just something about those guitar ballads, and I'll get to that a little later too. My next track though that I did take on this album, and I remember watching your top 10 with friends, and I know this was way up there for you, and it's definitely probably my favorite song on this album, and that is Surrender.
Oh yeah.
What a song. As a Christian, listening to this song just for the first time just blew me away. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Like a lot of kids in church, we really had a hard time convincing our parents. We wanted to grow our hair long. We wanted to listen to this Christian metal, and parents would say, "There's no such thing as Christian rock or Christian metal. It's a music of the devil." And that's what we were told. And I said, but then you let your mom listen to these lyrics. Jesus Christ is the lover of your soul. He wants to give you all you need. So freely surrender, open up unto his majesty. All I can say about that is, if they were a band of the devil, they sure did a bad job of proving it with those lyrics.
Yeah, I know.
And there's something in the Bible that also says, a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So, you can't have people believing the devil, supporting the devil, and then writing stuff that's against the devil. It would just collapse, right? It's the same thing with Christians. You can't have a Christian, doing the exact opposite. It just doesn't work, right? You're going to crumble if you try and preach the other side, right? So so it was very obvious. Just a great track. Lyrically, it was a real testament. I just loved it. And I'll let you talk about the music, but I'll just chime in and say, man, a killer tune.
Yeah, I mean, in general with metal and rock music, I like medium paced songs. You might know that from looking at the channel. They always get me more than faster songs. For me, they're heavier. They sound heavier. Like slower paced songs sound heavier to me, and this is it's one of the heaviest Stryper songs they've ever written. And that riff is just unbelievable. And like you said, it was right up there on my favorite Stryper songs on that program. And they're really showing their metal side on this song. Really, they really are. It's like an almost, and they do this a few times, it's a real sort of epic sounding song, because they've got a few sides to their music. They have got this sort of rock and roll sometimes side that they go on, and then they've got the more metal side, and this is towards the more metal side, which I prefer, the Stryper going towards that sort of part. And we talked about little tricks in the solo on the Soldiers Under Command song. This one has got that Oz Fox tremolo arm, really weird sound thing that I absolutely love. And they've done it over a few songs on their albums. They usually do it on every album. And it's, I think you know what I mean, don't you? It's like he does something with the tremolo arm. Someone actually told me what it was called, but I can't remember what it's called now. And there's also like a lovely little twin lead bit at the end of the solo as well. And obviously we're going to be mentioning all the guys in the band, but Robert Sweet's drumming as well. Oh, it's just amazing on this one. It's just brilliant. I love it. Love this song.
The kit he had back then too. The kit that Robert had. I remember I collected like every rock metal magazine and would always cut out the pictures of Stryper and the articles and post them up on my bedroom wall. So I was one of those kids.
Yeah. And
his kit that he had, he said it was 21 drums, 21 cymbals, and a couple of big gongs, and lots of yellow and black. Brilliant. And then on his chair, he had on the back of his chair, Jesus Christ Rocks. Remember that? I remember the first time I saw that picture. Pretty cool, brilliant, as you say. Yeah,
I love the song, man.
So All right, so that's all I did for Soldiers. Next album, of course. Well, what can we say about The Hell with the Devil? uh, I gotta say, actually, before I even go into my notes that are written here, I gotta go off on a little bit of a tangent here. But I had this buddy of mine, and we had actually met at a Christian music I think it was Daniel Band. Actually, we had met, and we were rocking out together and stuff. Anyway, we became friends and stuff. And he was one of the first. It was when To Hell with the Devil came out. It was the first Stryper album to be featured on a CD, and it was. I remember it was at the very beginning with CDs. They had the top quality CD was, I think, labeled as a DD or something, if I remember correctly. It was something to do. It was like 100% digital production or whatever. Don't know all my technical terms, but he got this CD, and he was very, he knew I didn't have it yet. I didn't have a lot of money back then, so I sometimes didn't get stuff the moment they were released. And he mailed me a cassette tape, and he would never mail me a copy of the whole album. He was very much against the copyright thing. He didn't want to take money away from the artist, but he did want to give me a little tidbit, right? So I go and I'm all excited. I go and put the CD in. The first thing I hear, and I believe it or not, shame on me, but I'd never even heard this before, but heard the strange sound. It turns out it was the Bee Gees. The Staying Alive, the beginning of Staying Alive. So this starts playing, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And then all of a sudden I hear this record scratching, and then he's got this Monty Python voice. What the something from Monty Python? And then all of a sudden I was like, then it goes into To Hell with the Devil, and I was like, face melting. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. I was just like going crazy. But anyways, there's no doubt. This album, I mean, this blew the doors down for Stryper. So many great tracks. Went 2 times platinum in the US, was nominated for a Grammy. I think they even won a Dove Award on the Christian market. They often say they went from playing the small clubs to larger theaters and small arenas. Hey, they were the first and only band to this day to have 2 songs featured on the MTV Top 10 at the same time. That's huge. I mean, and the biggest thing about that too is a lot of people don't know this, but MTV actually refused to play Stryper in their rotation. They refused to play Stryper because they were a Christian band, but they had this program called Dial MTV, where people could just call in and request their favorite songs, and they had a guarantee on that no matter what, any song that was voted in the top 10, they would play the video, and whether it was in their regular rotation or not. Yeah. Well, there was just a few people back then that heard about this band called Stryper and heard this and saw this video called Calling on You or Free or something. There's a few of them, right? And they were so to this day, MTV doesn't even play videos anymore, but right until the entire time they did, there was no other band that ever had 2 songs on the top 10 at the same time. Wow. And I know like at least one of them actually peaked at number 1 too. So anyways, as I said, a lot of great songs in this album. I decided to only pick one for this program. There's just so many to go through. We'd be going for hours on end if we took too many, but I went with the big bombastic closer to the album, More Than a Man. Like Surrender, this song blew me away musically and lyrically. I just love the bold statement of faith. God, I will follow you because you died for me, gave to me your life to set me free. Anyone who asks shall receive. Jesus in your heart. It's time for you to start giving God all the glory. Obviously, one of my favorite songs of Stryper catalog. Just love this one.
Oh man, what a great song! I mean, you did actually have your beginning list. You had The Way as well, didn't you? As well as More Than a Man.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. Them two songs, I always think of them not as similar. I know they're not similar musically, but I don't know why. I think of them together. The Way and More Than a Man. It's got a similar feel to it for me musically. I don't know why. I think they're both heavy, aren't they? They're both so melodic but heavy at the same time. And I always think of those two songs together. It's got, man, this is such a great track. It's got, it's probably one of the, and again, I know I've got a lot of favourite Stryper songs, but it's right up there. I think it might have been in my top 10, or it could have been an honourable mention. It was definitely there. It's got a brilliant galloping sort of riff at the beginning. And then when it goes into that, it's like a twin lead intro. Oh man. I mean, there's no
Twin leads. I mean, that's what Stryper's known for.
Yeah. And it's almost, and they do this a lot on their song Stryper. It's very melancholy, even though in a heavy song, their twin lead parts, it's very sort of sad sounding. And it's just the same in this. And it's just a great track, man. I'm so glad you chose More Than a Man, because it's a brilliant track. And and we sometimes say, don't we, with bands sometimes know how to close out an album, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they make awful decisions on closes. It's a great song, man. It's a brilliant song.
I'll just say too, going back to what you said too about The Way and More Than a Man, I think I know what it is that you might be thinking of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you actually look at Stryper, actually, I don't know if they do it as much now, but they kind of had a formula in those first group of albums. And it was always like rocker, heavy rocker to start, couple mid-tempos, ballad, barn burner, another couple mid-tempos, and then it closed with a barn burner, right? Like that's kind of what their thing. And so I see what you're saying, like The Way and More Than a Man. And it's like we're going to go into God We Trust next. You know, I think the writings on the wall and the rain.
Yeah,
right?
I think
same kind of feeling.
Yeah, definitely right. And it's like The Rock That Makes Me Roll was that makes me feel similar. I don't think they're similar at all, but they make me feel the same way when I listen to them. It's strange.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a certain way about those songs, but it's a brilliant track, man. I'm so glad you chose that one. Well done.